Hello, welcome to Great Stamp Adventure. In the previous video, which was about buying stamp packets, I mentioned that I bought a stamp packet at a bookstore at a shopping mall in Tauranga. I will put a link to the video in the description below. And as promised, in this video, I will show you what I found in the stamp packet and also whether it was worthwhile buying it. I went to a bookstore in a shopping center here in Tauranga. And, oh, and behold, I found a stamp packet. And I wondered what is in it, so I bought it. And if you look at it, you can see that it is meant as a souvenir. They are New Zealand stamps, and I definitely paid a premium because it's a tourist thing, and probably a store premium as well. Just see what's on the back. So it was probably on a sale because at the back it is about $25. Wow. Okay, so I have no idea what stamps are in here, except what one can see from the outside of the packet. They are probably really just very, very common stamps. But I'm still excited to open it and see what stamps we're going to find in it. If they are just common stamps, that's okay as well. So let's quickly open it. So let me take them out so that we can see what's in here. I can already say that I know many of the stamps. Okay, here they are. I think the best way will be I will pack them out off camera and then I'll bring you back and we can quickly see what we found in this packet. This is the packaging of the stamp packet. It says that there's 200 different New Zealand stamps in it, and the fact that they say different means to me that there should not be duplication. So it is sold as a souvenir packet, and the company that actually packed it and it is selling it is Philately Distributors Limited. This is their website, and what is interesting is that this is the only shop I could find in New Zealand that actually has a brick and mortar place and that specifically sells stamps and stamps paraphernalia, and they also sell coins and everything going with that. So they have bit of a monopoly in New Zealand if you don't want to buy something on like Amazon and pay postage for it. And I paid for the packet $19.99, and I think this is a bit expensive. So let me show you why I think so. Stamp packet with New Zealand stamps. So I quickly searched to find some stamp packets for sale, but I didn't do a exhaustive search or investigation, just sort of hit and run. So let's have a look. Okay, I opened this seller and it is on Trade Me, which is a local trading platform in New Zealand. So he sells stamp mixes which are similar to stamp packets. I cannot definitely say that these were sorted beforehand and packed by hand, but when you look at the mixes, they seem to be quite similar to the packet that we bought at Whitcoulls. So let's quickly see. Here is a mix for 400 stamps, New Zealand stamps, and it costs for buy now costs $5.90, and this would be New Zealand dollars. So if we go inside, we can see that the Standard Post he uses costs $3.30. So I added the postage costs to the cost for the stamps and used that to work out that this specific packet will cost $9.20, and this is about 2.3 cents per stamp, while the packet that was bought at Whitcourse was 10 cents per stamp, more or less. Okay, you see there is duplication. And look at the photo. In the photo, one cannot really see a lot of duplication. Maybe this, no, not this one. Anyway, it seems very similar to the stamps that we got in the packet. Significantly cheaper. Next. And this specific guy, I don't think he is dirt cheap with his prices, especially if one look at the other stamps that he's selling and like old albums. Here are 1,000 New Zealand Christmas stamps, and they cost $12.90 for buy now. There's a lot of duplication in this. Okay, so he does differentiate between duplication and when there are more duplication than one would expect. So the postage for this would be $4.60, and the two together costs $17.50, and that works out to 1.75 cents per stamp. Okay, cheaper as the previous, but one can expect more duplication. So it's a little bit difficult to compare if one didn't look through the packets themselves and see what the duplication actually is. Gives you an idea of the local trading site. There's another one. This one has 400 different stamps, meaning that this implies that there should not be duplication. And the buy now price is $20. And quickly look, $2.50 for postage. That makes it $22.50. So if we look at that, it will be 5.63 cents per stamp, which is still very, very much cheaper than the packet that we bought. And this would probably be closer to a packet. If he knows that there's no duplication here, he must have worked through it. Okay, what do we have here? These are 200 different stamps from New Zealand, 1996 onwards. And this closes in 1 hour. And the current bid is on $2. The postage is $2 as well, so $4 in total. And that works out on 2 cents a stamp. Go to the next one. This is eBay. I just wanted to put the eBay example here as well. A bit difficult because most of the packets from here on, and they call it packets, are they didn't say the shipping costs, not specified from the United Kingdom. So I just looked at this very first one, which is a collection packet of 30 different stamps. If you look at them, they're very similar to the stamps that you will see we will find in the packet that we bought. So, and they ask $3 New Zealand dollars and 60 cents for the packet, and $3.86 for the shipping from Australia. So $7.02 in total, and that works out to 23.4 cents per stamp, which is actually more expensive than what we paid for the 200 stamp packet that we're looking at the moment. And I think what happens also is that the shipping costs is starting to play a role in the amount the packets cost. And then the last one, which is shocking. This is a place in New Zealand, Toys Central. And there's also a collection of stamps, New Zealand, 100 different stamps. So sort of indicating there should be no duplication. It's about half the stamps, well, it is half the stamps than the 200 that we bought. And they want $73.20 for it. Yeah, and they even took off, the price was $122, so you're actually supposed to save 40%. It's horrible. So I just said the most cheapest way that they will be able to send it, if they send it from New Zealand, will be $2 for a standard letter. And this will be then $75.20. And then when you work out, it works out for 75 cents per stamp. So the Whitcoll's packet wasn't the most expensive. And if you look at these stamps, when we work through the stamps, you will see that they're very similar to what we got in the packet from Whitcoll's. Okay, so the prices that we got ranged from, I would say, about half, 50% cheaper, to up to very, very much more expensive, 7 or 8 times more expensive. But I'm pretty sure of the prices that I got to know so far that we paid $20, and I think that packet with the New Zealand mix could have been easy about $10, and it would have been a more fair price. Before we move on to look at the stamps themselves, did we get 200 stamps? I counted the stamps. There were 192 unique or different stamps. This means we are 8 short of 200. However, despite saying that they were all different stamps, there were 26 duplicate stamps. And the unique stamps and the duplicate stamps together are 218 stamps. This means we were 8 short of the different stamps, but when we add the duplicate stamps, we actually have 18 more than the 200. 26 out of the 218 stamps means the duplicate stamps are about 12% of the total number of stamps. So we had about 12% duplication. From what time periods were the stamps in the packet? Most of the stamps in the packet were issued in the 1970s. And very broadly, the stamps came from the 1940s to the 1990s. This conforms more or less with the time when stamps were collected prolifically. We neither got very old and classic stamps from the 19th century, nor very recent new stamps. The oldest stamp in the packet was these pre-decimal definitive stamps with King George V issued in 1915. The newest or most recently issued stamp in the packet was a Christmas stamp from 2003. Stamp condition is very important in determining the value of stamps. It also contributes to the attractiveness of your stamps. So it just makes sense that one should try and buy the best quality stamps that you can afford. Apart from the value of the stamps, each collector must also decide for him or herself how much damage on the stamps they will tolerate in their collection. That is again a very personal decision. In the previous video, one of the drawbacks of buying stamp packets was that the quality of the stamps can vary from stamp packet to stamp packet. Unfortunately, the stamps in this New Zealand stamp packet wasn't pristine and some of the stamps were damaged. I kept 10 of the damaged stamps separate so that I can show you the damage and what type of damage occur on them. These were not the only damaged stamps in the stamp packet. So let's have a look. One of the most common problems with the stamps were with the corners of the stamps, and they were either folded over like this one. This is quite a large fold, so it can be quite tiny, or the corner can be broken off or teared off entirely. Let's see with this one. Okay, on this one, you can also see that the corner is probably teared off. It doesn't seem to be just folded. Okay, on this stamp one can also see that the tooth of the perforations are not perfect. That's a very slight damage, but it is still of quite extreme importance with determining the value of especially more expensive stamps. This stamp is also a bit discolored. Okay. Let's look at this stamp. Let's find the problem. You see that here, the paper of the stamp is damaged. Something is wrong. It's a little bit rough. Almost as if someone scraped it. I don't think it is really a thin, which I will explain in a while. And here's the next stamp. This stamp is slightly discolored. And if you look closely, I don't know if you will see it clearly, there's an area there where there's a stamp thin. And the stamp thin is a part of the stamp has damage, and that part of the paper is thinner than the remainder of the paper of the stamp. Right, here's a stamp that's quite badly damaged. If you look close, you will see that it has a fold across the stamp, which is a hard fold and which one will not be able to get rid of. You can also see it in the front. I don't know if the light is right to see it. This. So many of the stamps were folded in the packet. Okay, this stamp is quite badly wrinkled in the middle or damaged. Some people would even say that a stamp like that one should just throw away. And here you can see the folding or damage as well. Okay, next one. Okay, here the corner is also folded with a little bit of damage. And here some of the front of the stamp have been scraped off. Okay. This stamp looks bad. You can see all the folds in the front, badly folded. That corner probably broken off. Yes, it's not just folded. And here you can also see the folds on the stamp. But especially in the front, some of the color is even sort of disturbed. There is also a fold going to the back. This stamp, it still has a bit of paper on the back. Now one can soak that off most probably without any damage to the stamp, but still it's not in a pristine condition. This stamp, this one has a very bad thin. I think this is a good example of what a thin on a stamp is. I think if you look close, you will see it there. Okay, and even the tooth of the perforations is a bit bent over, and the corner is a bit damaged. Okay, so those were the type of damage that were on some of the stamps. Let's look at the stamps themselves. I used this catalogue to sort and catalogue the stamps, and it is the New Zealand Stamps 2023, published by Auckland City Stamps. It is a simplified catalogue and not a specialist catalogue, and thus one cannot find varieties, etc. in this catalogue, but just all the different types of stamps chronologically is listed, and then are listed, and then also you can see catalogue values for them. I've added the damaged stamps to the other stamps again. Okay, so let's start with the definitive and commemorative stamps and the pre-decimal era. Just keep in mind that I didn't leave spaces specifically for the stamps that are missing and was not in the stamp packet. And also, most of the sets were incomplete or short sets. And as one can expect, usually it was the higher denominations or values that were not in the stamp packet, because that's where the stamps are more valuable. And in a stamp packet, one can normally just expect to get the common and cheaper stamps. Okay, so the pre-decimal stamps in New Zealand, the UK and Australia, the same pre-decimal system was used, and thus New Zealand's pre-decimal system had 12 pence in a shilling and 20 shillings in a pound. Now let's see, the first stamp that was issued in New Zealand was issued in 1855, and the very oldest stamp or most early stamp in the stamp packet was actually issued in 1915. That means that the oldest stamp in the packet were issued 60 years after the first New Zealand stamp were issued. So the very, very first stamps in the stamp packet came from 1915, and they are stamps of King George V. Then there's also the Admiral stamps of 1926. And you get the Silver Jubilee stamps for King George V, which was issued in 1935. And you get another set of pictorials that was issued in 1935 again. And then there were also the Chamber of Commerce commemorative stamps. And in 1937, let me just go up a bit, it was the coronation of King George VI, and then all the definitive stamps of King George VI followed. This is not as I said, they are not the complete set. And then also their officials. In 1940, there were some stamps for the centennial celebrations of New Zealand. I think they are quite pretty stamps. And then some provisionals of King George VI. And then we have the Otago and Canterbury centennial stamps, which I also think is really beautiful. Very intricate stamps. Beautiful building, probably a church. Christchurch Cathedral. Okay. And then the very beautiful coronation stamp of Queen Elizabeth II. And then a little while after that, also in 1953, her Queen Elizabeth II's definitive stamps, the official stamps, which is quite a large set. And then the next definitive stamps of Queen Elizabeth II, which was redrawn from the original set because the denomination was too small according to people, so there were a lot of criticism about that. So here the denomination and value of the stamp is much larger, and they left out those flowers on the original stamps. That was in 1955. Then just continue. Beautiful stamps to commemorate Southland and Hawke's Bay Centennial. beautiful bird. Some provisionals of Queen Elizabeth II. And then a little bit important that you can remember, in 1960 there was a large set or issue of pictorial stamps. A lot of them were flowers. And then the very last pre-decimal stamp that you could find in the stamp packet was this 1963 stamp with some trains or locomotives on it. Now we're going to look closer at the decimal stamps. On 10 July 1967, New Zealand abandoned pounds, shillings and pence and adopted decimal currency. On the same day, on 10 July, decimal stamps were put on sale. And this is part of the first decimal set. The set that was issued had 18 pictorial stamps, and only 7 of the set were in the stamp packet. This set is essentially exactly the same as the set that was issued in 1960, except the only thing that changed was the denomination and the currency. They abandoned the pence, shillings and pounds, and the decimal cents and New Zealand dollar replaced it. So in 1968 we have this human rights stamp, and then in 1970 a United Nations stamp was issued. In 1970 and 1971, a new set of definitives were issued. The lower denomination stamps were a series of moths and butterflies of New Zealand, and the New Zealand Post regarded these stamps so iconic and beautiful that they started selling gifts and merchandise featuring the stamps. Among the merchandise, they made some pillows and also art prints that you can frame. The remainder of the series had some animals on it, some water animals, sea animals. And then you got the higher denominations. Here is one of the moth stamps, and with postal rate change, the 2.5 cents were overprinted with 4 cents. A nice stamps with old vehicles on them. Westport Barrow Centennial stamp or stamps. It could be part of a larger set. And for the Commonwealth Games. Okay, and this is also a centenary of Napier. And let me just see. I think this is just a statue. Let's go on. In 1975 to 81, a new series of definitive stamps were issued. And part of the series, the lower denominations, were of beautiful roses. And this garden plant, the roses, is very popular in New Zealand, and in some areas in New Zealand, it also grows very well. So the remainder of the series included a stamp of Queen Elizabeth II, some Maori artifacts stamps, and seashells. Now in 1977 we got the Silver Jubilee stamp of Queen Elizabeth II. And this was an interesting set to commemorate firefighting. And this specific stamp has a very old manual pump on it. Let me see. Okay, it came from 1860, this manual pump. This was issued in 1977. And here are some more definitives with the Queen. And the stamp commemorating family life. This is also a part of a larger set. As I said, most of the stamps are just part of sets. Okay, then in 1982 to 83, a next series of definitives were issued, and with some very interesting stamps. And as you can see, again, the stamps didn't continue as one theme. So there were some semi-precious stones on the stamps, or I think this is called a diode, I'm not sure. And there was a stamp with a map on it that one frequently sees if you just get common New Zealand stamps. And there are more of them, but there were stamps with beautiful fruit on them, which I'm glad about because the duplicates I will use in my vegetable and fruit thematic collection. And this is one of the first stamps that were issued with some scenic scenes on it of New Zealand. And since then, up to even 2023, lots of stamps have been issued with different scenes or scenic images of New Zealand, because New Zealand is known for its beautiful nature and scenes. Okay, next page. Okay, this is one with a ferry boat on it, 1984. And then also in 1984, a very beautiful set of 4 stamps. I think I will show the mini sheet or the miniature sheet in the video afterwards when I edit it. And this was the very first of the stamps, and it commemorates the war that New Zealand participated in with South Africa. And it is actually a scene, and they participated in the Second Boer War. And this war, South African War or the Boer War, was the very first war that the New Zealand troops participated in that was not in New Zealand but overseas. Let's continue. Here we have a centenary of the St. John ambulance. There were definitely 2 of them. I cannot remember another ship. Oh, and beautiful bird stamps. Also some definitives, and really, really nice. I love birds. You probably know that. And what is interesting, this seems to be quite a higher denomination, $1, New Zealand dollar. But actually in this set, there were 3 more stamps, a $2, $3, and $4 stamps. So it still means that we didn't get the higher values of the set. And then we had 2 definitives again with Queen Elizabeth on them. There was a very nice set with aeroplanes on it. Beautiful. And then fiber arts and some more bird stamps. Really, really nice. There's a kiwi, which is the iconic bird of New Zealand. Now we get to the last page of the decimal stamps. Let me just open it. Okay. So in 1989, the Commonwealth Games were held in Auckland. So there was a set of stamps commemorating that. 1991, some more bird stamps. Very nice. And then there were interesting set of stamps, thinking of you stamps. Let me show you. it's a little bit, it's not very clear. So let me show you, this is very cute. And you can see it featured cats. Very nice. Just put it back properly. Okay. Then in 1993, we have another bird stamp and tourism stamps in 1994. And this is about people reaching out to each other. And I'm pretty sure this is a corner of a stamp, a postage stamp. And here is another scenic stamp. Mitre Peak. And then this is a set of stamps. I think all the stamps of the set is here. One of the only one of the very few complete sets in the stamp packet. And they also show scenic scenes from New Zealand. Beautiful. If I'm correct, I think these are self-adhesive stamps. And then the very last, a yacht with really, really nice primary colors. And then another scenic stamp. And this was the newest of the decimal stamps that was in the stamp packet. It came from 2002, and it was a set of 6 stamps showing oceanic scenes from New Zealand. And that's it. So let's move on to the Christmas stamps. The Christmas stamps had the largest amount of duplication. I've put them like this. This is a stamp and its duplicate. And all of the duplicates were just 1 duplicate per stamp. And there are, of the Christmas stamps, there are 29 unique or different stamps and 21 duplicate stamps. And that worked out to 42% of duplication in the stamps. So the very first Christmas stamps that were issued in New Zealand was issued in 1960. And the stamps in the packet actually starts from the year after that, 1961. And in the beginning, the Christmas stamps were only issued as 1 stamp per year. So you can see 1961, 62, 63, 64. I think there's, 65, 66, 68, and so on. And the very first sets of stamps were reproductions of well-known art pieces. And here in 1986, for instance, you see the first stamp that's not an art reproduction. Okay, this is in the 1990s. These stamps. And beautiful glass window stamps. Second page. And here are the last of the Christmas stamps. These are quite beautiful, with cattle, a cow and a sheep with a Christ, I think, as a small child or baby. Yeah, I don't know if you actually noticed, but through all the stamps that we looked at, every now and then you will see some damage on the stamps, like this one, missing a corner. Either missing it or it has been, I think it's missing, been folded over. Okay, that's the Christmas stamps. Now let's move on to the health stamps. Okay, here are the health stamps. The health stamps were a popular series in New Zealand, and it was a very long-running series of charity stamps, which included a premium in addition to the charge for postal services. I think this type of stamp is called a semi-postal stamp. I'm not sure, I'll go and check before doing the final video. First health stamps have been issued in 1929, and thereafter they were issued every year until 2016. Just the other day almost. Part of the money from the sale of health stamps went towards the running of children health camps. And all the health stamps that were in the packet were pre-decimal stamps. The oldest health stamp in the packet, this one, was issued in 1943. It was thus actually issued 14 years later than the very first health stamp. It is a very attractive, I don't know if you agree, but I think it is a very attractive triangular stamp picturing Princess Margaret, and there was also one that pictured Princess Elizabeth. So this is a 1 penny and half pence, or a penny. I can't remember the slang that's used for it, but it is a half penny was the extra surcharge or the premium that went to the children's health. Okay, here in 1944 you have Princess Margaret and Princess Elizabeth. At first I thought that these stamps were dirty, but it is actually not. It's natural vegetation that is pictured at the back there. Let's move on. Okay, this stamp in 1948 was a picture depicting a camp, one of the health camps. So if I remember correctly, again, I think there were just 2 stamps in the set. I think many of the health stamps were very small sets each year, and many of them, you have the entire set was in the stamp packet. Nice, very nice sailboat, 1951. Here's the last page of the health stamps. Just 2 pages here. 1955. 1956. And this is an image of Prince Andrew, 1963. Beautiful bird stamps, 1965. And this is the entire set, 1966. A bellbird and a weka. Bellbird, ooh, they sing, they make the most beautiful sound. Bellbird is a very apt name for it. Okay, and here is the single insurance stamp that was in the stamp packet and issued in 1981, and it was a governmental insurance office stamp, and there were a whole set of them. So this is just one. Okay, I think, so that was the entire lot of stamps that was in the stamp packet, and now we're going to see whether you think and I think whether it was worthwhile and whether it is worthwhile to buy this stamp packet. In conclusion, being a stamp packet, the following was true and could be more or less expected from any stamp packet one buys. The stamps were common stamps. In a stamp packet, which is pre-sorted and pre-packed, one would not expect any gems. The stamps were short or incomplete sets, not including the higher value stamps. In the specific New Zealand stamp packet we bought, it contained at least some pre-decimal stamps, albeit not the earlier stamps with higher catalogue values. There were various types of stamps: definitives, commemoratives, Christmas, health, and insurance stamps. The packet was convenient to buy. I bought the stamp packet and got it immediately. I did not have to wait for shipping, and no shipping costs were necessary. Could one get better value for money when buying another stamp packet with a mix of New Zealand stamps? I think so. The quality of the stamps could be better. A significant amount of the stamps in the packet were damaged. The packet promised different stamps, but about 12% of the stamps were duplicate stamps. There were less stamps than promised, but this could possibly be forgiven because the extra duplicate stamps gave a surplus of 18 stamps. Lastly, was it worthwhile? If I didn't have any stamps, it would have been a fair beginning of a collection. But I think I could have gotten better value for money if I bought another stamp packet or mix or lot of stamps with a cheaper price per stamp, better quality stamps, and with different stamps or at least upfront expectation of some duplication. Please comment below. Do you think it was worthwhile? Thank you very much for watching. And if you liked the video, please press the like button below. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe and also press the bell button so that you can see what videos I post in the future. It will help me and the channel a whole lot. Okay, so you must be safe and happy, and you must take care, and you must enjoy your stamp collecting until we see again. Bye bye.